Oh, hey kids. In the last episode of Crap Artist Reacts, we looked at Pizza of My Mind's post-COVID livestream, part 1. Tonight, we will be picking up just after the point where he overly sexualizes the non-binary gender. Um, I hope you enjoy it. I did not. It's cold outside, there's no kind of atmosphere, I'm all alone. Let's hit play.
I think non-binary is when you when you're willing to eat anything. But
That smug, stupid laugh. We've already covered this. Let's move on.
I'm not shaming detransitioners.
Yeah, you are. You totally are. You lumped them all in together and gave them one reason to detransition. You took away their individuality. You took away their own personalities. You just assume you know everything about what is in a person's heart.
There are statistics. There have been studies done.
That you have never, ever fully read. All you do is rely on that little tiny little microcosm of your Twitter feed.
Overwhelming majority of detransitioners do so because of social pressure.
That is incorrect.
Not because of any realization that transition was the wrong choice for them to make in the first place.
That is also incorrect. And again, you have never, ever gone to detransitioning message boards. You've never watched detransitioning TikTok. You've never watched the detransitioners on YouTube. You only know what the creeps on your Twitter feed tell you. And they are probably as creepy and isolated and warped as you.
It's something where they do want to transition. They want to transition.
Yeah, and I want to be a Chinese jet pilot. But shit don't always work out.
Just that it becomes too difficult for them. Sleeper, that's not really true.
The person probably was being honest and actually read articles that Peetz is trying to cite here.
Like I said, most detransitioners are because of social pressure.
You're a fucking liar. You don't know what's in people's hearts, you fucking creep.
Child abuse. Fuck you.
You know what? Giving children hormones counter to their birth hormones and putting them on puberty blockers and not allowing them to grow up and be normal children, yeah, that is child abuse.
Identify as a tomboy? Cool.
See, he's fine with somebody identifying as a tomboy. That means that that is a girl that has male interests. And she's fine in her body. And that's usually what most little girls that have male interests are when they're little kids. They're just tomboys. They either get over it or do something cool with it without having to mutilate their little fucking bodies.
On statistics, there's some statistics here. Also, it points out...
I posted a bunch of articles and bills and the medical guidelines in my last video. I will find statistics for people that detransition and post them in this one.
That somewhere around 3% of people detransition.
Yeah, 3% of people detransition, but how many transgender people take their own lives because they've realized they made a mistake? How many? And I'm sure that the 3% of people that detransition is probably a wrong number.
About 3%. So we're really not talking...
Also, when you say 3%, are you talking about 3% of people that have had full body transitional surgery, or just people that are dressing the part, or people that are taking hormones? What is the criteria for this statistics? See, I don't trust him. I don't trust anybody that says statistics say, because you're not telling me the demographic of the people that you're interviewing for these fucking statistics.
About large numbers here. The overwhelming...
Oh yeah, kids, never trust anybody that states numbers and says the word statistics and says rates and so on when they're talking about people's health or like what people do with their time, because they're not telling you the demographic of the people that they interview. It could be, yeah, only 3% of people detransition. It could be 3% of people that are fully transitioned, and then you've got 3% that detransition, and 20-30% of people that take their own lives because they realize they've made a mistake and cannot detransition. So, pay attention to what people say and never trust anybody that brings up statistics.
Majority, nearly all trans people, once they start transitioning, are happy with it.
That is also not true. There's a great many people on Reddit that are really, really miserable now that they have fully transitioned because of a lot of complications. A lot of complications with bottom surgery.
Satisfied.
You can go look this up. It's on Reddit.
With transitioning. And like every respectable medical organization agrees that the best way of treating gender dysphoria is through gender affirming care.
That is incorrect. That is also incorrect. Respectable medical professionals will tell the parents of the child to get that child counseling. And if the parent does not get the child counseling, a respectable medical professional will notify law enforcement if they suspect that the child is being harmed or coerced. So there's that.
Convergence. I wonder if the suicide rate might have anything to do with how trans people are treated in society. Fuck you.
A little bit it does, yeah, a little bit. But a lot of it is because they're just unhappy with themselves. They were unhappy before they transitioned, and they found that they're still unhappy after they transitioned. Depression is not something that goes away just because you cut your body up. You have to work on it. You can't just modify yourself, shove yourself in a fake mold and expect to be perfectly happy, because now you've got all these other crazy health problems and insane things you got to keep up on. That, all right, say you transition into a woman, you have so many different weird problems now that women cannot identify with, and your life is going to be incredibly hard from now on. So anyway, let's let Peetz talk here.
Like this suicide rate bullshit, it's because...
Oh, the suicide rate is bullshit. It's massively high. It is massively high. And Peetz is just going to blame it on being made fun of and being abused because you're trans. Because, again, Peetz assumes he can see inside the hearts and minds of every human being on the planet. And he knows exactly why people do everything that they do.
of, like, it's because they get judged. It's because they're hated. It's because the fucking government, it's because there are laws passed specifically targeting them.
No, there really isn't. The laws that are passed are not specifically targeting them. They are there to protect innocent people.
It's because there are people who will deliberately misgender them and dead name them. But a doctor...
Hey man, the thing is, humans, we're biologically programmed for all kinds of things, you know, to identify potential mates, potential threats, and so on. So, if a person is dressed as the opposite gender and they clearly do not pass as the opposite gender, like say you went out in public in a dress right now with your big old beard and your bald spot gleaming in the sun and shit. I mean, the only thing that would remotely make you look like a woman is the fact that you got bigger tits than I do. And like, people would misgender the living shit out of you, Peetz. They would, regardless of what you're wearing, because you look like a man. And that's not being mean or rude or hateful. It's human biology. We see things with our eyes. It goes to our brain. It says, that's a dude. And we say, hey man. And that's it.
These are prescribed hormones. I would say the doctor's being shitty. Why do other people commit?
If the doctor doesn't prescribe hormones, they're being shitty. So like, let's say this doctor clearly can see that you already have some extreme mental health issues. And then you go to them and you say, hey, I want to get on some hormones. And they say no. It's because they're trying to save you. They're not being a dick. They're not being an asshole. They're trying to save you. And they're trying to save their own career. Because they're not going to give a fucking crazy person a whole bunch of hormones and then they hurt themselves. And then the doctor gets sued for malpractice by the family. Nah.
Suicide? For a wide variety of reasons. People commit suicide for all sorts of reasons.
Here he goes, speaking for the hearts and minds of men and women again.
Normally it's just that most people commit suicide because life is just too hard. Like, they just hit a point where they simply...
That's really fucking general. That's why trans people commit suicide, because you get bullied and shit and life's too hard and just not worth it anymore. He's a fucking idiot.
Don't know how...
And I can't believe that he sat here and tried to answer this question.
Where life just doesn't seem worth it anymore. Where it doesn't seem worth the fight, the struggle. QC, no, I would not commit suicide. 8%. Yeah, it's what I think about trans women in elite sports. I think we're talking about a very minute number of people. I think that there's very few of them who are actually, like, very, 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 very few trans women who are actually able to compete at a professional level.
And so, those very few people should be given special preferential privileged treatment, is what he is implying without saying it. That is what he is implying.
And the guidelines that are in place regarding trans women being able to compete,
which he does not know. He only knows what he reads on Twitter, and he never ever reads the full article. He probably just reads the headline or something.
To me, they seem completely fair and reasonable.
Yeah, you've been wrong before, motherfucker. My personal opinion on professional sports is that if you're going to do something like allow trans people to compete, then you have to do things by weight class and by body mass. Like, that trans person has to be the same size and the same musculature as every woman they are competing against. And if they're bigger and if they have more muscle, then they need to go to a different fucking weight class. And that's it. And if they don't match up with the rest of the girls that are competing, then they don't get to compete. Period.
Or requiring being on hormones a specific amount of time, requiring testosterone below certain levels.
Your hormone level doesn't matter if you've already built a fuck ton of muscle mass and have some nice strong bone structure. Don't matter.
It seems completely fair to me. But I think the state not compelling people to use people to prefer transphobia. Kinda. It's not.
Not really. Not really. If you don't pass, you don't fucking pass. It's not the other person's fault. If they see you and they see, oh my god, that's a dude in a dress. If you look like a dude in a dress, then you look like a dude in a dress. Sorry. I have been misgendered countless times. And it never bothers me.
Misogyny. Potentially, it may be down to just social shit. Social pressures.
Social shit. Social pressures. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Not that most European countries are. I don't know. I think most European countries are doing okay in terms of trans rights.
But he doesn't know because he doesn't read anything other than the headlines on Twitter. He doesn't know for sure at all.
UK is
Hi, Bubble.
at risk right now. You new Gully. You want trans kids killing themselves? Fuck off.
No, he doesn't want trans kids killing themselves. He wants them to get counseling so that they're normal, functional human beings, happy in their own skin, you big, giant piece of shit.
The U.S., I think that there's a lot of transphobia in the U.S. and a lot of transphobic bills that are being pushed around.
You don't know nothing, Peetz. You think, but you think based on misinformation and your own willful fucking ignorance. So, what you think does not fucking matter.
The U.S. And I suspect that that's probably contributing to transitioning regret in the U.S. People.
No, not really. Not really. What's contributing to transgression or transition regret in the U.S. Bubble, you're so cute. Is the fact that the bottom surgery looks really, really, really bad, and you're not actually the gender you transitioned into being. And your life is miserable and you can't have an orgasm anymore.
Well, just what is the bill? I mean, the bill does a couple things. First of all, it prevents it specifically prevents gay teachers from discussing their personal lives.
It prevents gay teachers, it prevents teachers, period, from discussing their personal lives and going into detail about acts in the sexual nature, you dipshit. You didn't read the bill.
Something that I will note, nobody has ever had an issue with straight teachers talking about their personal lives.
Actually, I have two stories. First, my 8th grade English teacher, not my 8th grade English teacher, but an English teacher when I was in 8th grade, got fired because he spent an entire week bitching about his wife to every single class instead of teaching the class. And then when I was in cosmetology school, my teacher, Miss Matei, rest her soul, she had a really bad habit of spending the entire day of class talking about her husband and what they did when they were younger and so on, and absolutely not doing anything about hair, nails, or skin. So we all had to have a conversation with her about not wasting our time because we paid for the fucking class. Anyway, let's continue.
There's never been a complaint.
Yes, there has. I just gave 2 examples.
About a female teacher talking about her husband or a male teacher talking about his wife.
That is untrue.
Never been an issue.
That is untrue, and you don't know anything because you don't read anything, you don't comprehend anything, you just pull shit out of your ass because you feel like talking and making yourself seem virtuous.
No one has ever complained about that. No
That is incorrect. I just gave 2 examples, you freak.
teacher should discuss their personal lives. Bullshit.
That is also incorrect. No teacher should discuss their personal lives. You're there to fucking teach. You're not there to socialize or talk about your family or your pugs or anything like that.
Never, ever, ever? Yeah, never. Like, seriously.
You're wrong, Peetz. You don't know anything to make that judgment, you fucking freak.
Nobody cares when a man talks about his wife or a woman talks about her husband.
And that is untrue. Outside of the classroom, I have had to tell friends that I really care about that they talk about their new partner entirely too fucking much, and I wanted to end the conversation. So, yeah, he is wrong. He's an idiot. We already know this.
Have I felt anything has gotten easier? Do I feel even more weight on my shoulders? Do I feel less stress? No real change.
No real change because he hasn't actually made any effort to transition. He only just like burdened his mother with the idea of him becoming a really, really ugly woman with a bald spot and 5 o'clock shadow. He's not really going to transition. He fantasizes about himself as a little girl that he will never ever be, no matter how much surgery he has.
My science teacher brought a projector to school to show us all her lavish Indian wedding. Those can be pretty nice.
You know what? That is fucking abuse right there. Any kind of slideshow, it doesn't matter. Like, even if it's like your friends and family coming over, you don't fucking do that to people. You don't like subject them to a stupid ass slideshow, make a whole room look at your fucking pictures. It doesn't matter.
Extent of my influence by social pressure myself.
He skipped that question. To what extent is he influenced by social pressure himself? He didn't want to answer that, so he didn't. But the answer is 110%. He is influenced by his little shitty Twitter feed.
The current climate of attitude toward trans people in Canada today? Probably closer to Europe.
Probably, but I don't know because I have no experience, because I don't do any research or read anybody's blogs or anything.
Canada is, I think, mostly accepting.
He thinks.
We definitely have our turfs. No question there. I had a teacher who would never shut up about her pugs.
Well, that's ignorant, and pugs are terrible dogs, and you shouldn't fucking have them, and you shouldn't breed them, because they're sad little mutants, and they got sad little sinuses, and they can't breathe, and they can't jump up on the couch by themselves, and pugs are horrible. They're cute and adorable, and all life is precious, but don't fucking breed pugs. It's not nice.
Yeah, it happens.
Look, and he's all like, hey, I don't care. It's not about me. I don't care.
Turner, I would guess that they did, and you just have no memory of it.
See, look, he's trying to say that this person doesn't know what they went through in their life. Oh, you don't know. You probably don't know. You don't know this person, you stupid fuck. They might have a photographic memory.
Because you just didn't give a shit. Because who cares? Because who cares about a teacher talking about her husband? It doesn't matter.
I just told you. 2 examples, you stupid fuck.
About the personal life. Yeah, it's...
Pick your nose, pick your nose.
I mean, like, I guarantee.
So fucking feminine.
It happens. Like, teachers... Because one thing that's important to remember is that kids are curious.
Yeah, that is really important to remember. Kids are very curious. And you have, as a responsible adult, you have to make sure that they learn things that are appropriate for them in their age range and their cognitive range. You can't just like lay a bunch of crazy shit on a child.
Kids are very, very curious. So they will ask questions.
Yeah, they will ask questions. And it is also your duty as a responsible adult to be honest as you can, in an age appropriate manner.
Sometimes they will ask some weird ass questions. But sometimes they'll ask questions like, do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a husband? Yeah, like that'll happen. Like a kid will ask, like, Miss Teacher, do you have a husband?
I hate when he does this baby voice. It creeps me the fuck out so much.
Like it happens. James?
Yeah, it happens. It does happen. And when a child asks you if you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, or partner, whatever, you can say, yes, I have this. And then you can leave it at that. Because kids are usually just shrug that shit off and go. They're not going to sit there and ask you what you do with that partner in the bedroom or anything like that. And if they do, you say, that's none of your fucking business, child.
Not yet. I would not yet. So
he again, not yet considering hormones, not yet considering wearing women's clothing full time. So, yeah, not trans.
Like that's what it'll happen. The idea that kids don't ask that sort of question, of course they do. And
yeah, I just told you how to answer it.
Parents will answer, or teachers will answer. Teachers will absolutely be like, yes, I have a husband. Of course they do. And it's fine. Nobody has an issue with that. Nobody's ever complained about that.
That is incorrect.
Teachers should not answer? Of course they should.
No, the teacher has a right to say it's none of your business. I'm your teacher. I'm not your friend.
Of course they should answer. I was a teacher and I was constantly asked, yeah. Because like I said, kids are curious. And
he didn't finish reading what that person said. That person said I was a teacher and I was constantly asked. And then they added another line. And I didn't catch that.
And love to ask questions, including pretty often inappropriate ones. Isn't that the issue though, Sleeper? Like, isn't the issue that, like, Miss Teacher, do you have a husband? No, but I have a wife. Like, isn't that...
You know, they'll say, do you have a husband? And you can say, I have a wife. And if they say, well, that's weird, how come you have a wife? And you say, because sometimes two people love each other and it don't matter what they look like or what they have on the outside. Period.
What's being discussed here? Kids are also brutally honest. Ask my mother's friend, why are you so fat? Yeah. Kids...
Yeah, see, he just glazed over that. Kids are brutally honest. And if this person here were to be out in public and go into a women's restroom where there was a child with her mother, and the child said, ew, mommy, look at that ugly, ugly person there in that dress. Why is that man in the ladies' room with us? That's what the kid's going to say. And what is mom going to say?
Are better at accepting shit than people think. And, like, there's always the question, how do I tell my kids about gay people? How do I tell my kids about trans people? How do I tell my kids about this? How do I tell my kids about that? How do I tell my kids? How do I tell my kids? And, like, you just say, this is the thing. This is a thing.
See, he doesn't give you a really good explanation. I will do it for you. How to tell your kids about gay people. I already did that earlier. Sometimes two people love each other so much that it doesn't matter what they have on the outside. How do you tell your kids about trans people? Sometimes people decide that they do not want to be the gender that they were born as. So they surgically modify their bodies to appear as the opposite gender.
And kids will be like, okay, how do I explain gay people to my kids? Some boys like boys, some girls like girls. Okay. How do I explain trans people to my kids? Sometimes when a person is born, everyone thinks they're one thing, but they turn out to be something else.
See, that is not the way he said that. Not everyone thinks they're one thing. They are born one gender and decide to transition into the other through surgical and cosmetic means.
Okay, it's kids accept shit and move on to the next and move.
Yeah, kids accept shit. They accept things like Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy. And it's real easy to get kids to accept things that are untrue and harmful to them in the long run. I am the product of abuse, and I am no longer ashamed to talk about it. My father used to do things like put me in front of movies like Hey Good Lookin' by Ralph Bakshi, or any of his other pieces like Wizards or Fire and Ice. And that is how I was conditioned toward certain things. And that started very young. So it was very natural for me to take the next step. And yes, it is very easy to manipulate, convince, coerce, and force a child into believing and doing some really horrific shit.
Move on to the next shiny thing. They will grasp it easily. It's not actually difficult to explain to kids in a way that is age appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I just did it. And I did it a lot better and a lot more comprehensive and easy for a child to understand than Peetz.
Sometimes a person is born and everyone thinks they're a boy, but they're actually a girl.
See, that is incorrect. Again, he's so simplistic and ignorant and idiotic. It's fucking pathetic. And it makes me glad that he very rarely leaves his home and has no interaction with young people.
Okay. Boom. I've explained trans women. It's not complicated. It's not complicated, and kids can grasp this shit.
It is extremely complicated. And to expect a child to grasp fully the extent of damage and change and cognitive dissonance it takes to transition to the opposite gender, it's a 7-year-old is not going to fucking understand all of it. So he's a fucking idiot again.
Depending on the kid, they might have another 8,000 whys, but bathrooms in my school are gender neutral now. Kids are not fazed by it at all. That's slightly weirded out.
That's probably a lie. I haven't been to school since the mid-90s, but I was bullied relentlessly. I can remember being bullied all the way in kindergarten. And if I had to have a gender neutral bathroom, the girls were relentless enough. But if you had a boy in the bathroom with you and you were alone, oh my God, no. No, gender neutral bathrooms in schools is no, unless they've got a bathroom monitor, like they got in the nightclubs with the cologne and the gum and the tampons and shit.
First of all, yeah, I mean, they don't give a shit. Kids don't care.
Kids care, man. You're an idiot.
Accept anything. Kids are very quick to adapt.
Yes, they are. I just told you that. I just told you how horrific it can be.
To new concepts. Adults underestimate how accepting kids. I wasn't actually bullied as a kid.
He's a liar here. I cut out a lot of pauses that I should have left in because he does this whole shifty eye thing and he does this whole, Bombard's body language. I don't remember what her channel's called now. I think it's Body Language Ghost. But she's really good. She would say that all his shifty eye movements and the mouth tics is He's lying his ass off when he says he wasn't bullied.
Honestly, like, I've thought about this before. I feel like if I come out as trans when I was a kid, when I was back in elementary school, I would have been accepted. So, like, it's...
Unless you were like a little waif of a girly boy when you were a kid, I do not think you would have gotten accepted, Peetz. I'm sorry.
Given me a warped view of what school's like, of what school is like. But
I wonder if he even graduated high school.
yeah, it's like I was not bullied at all. Yeah, the cats.
That is a lie. And also he's lying about feeding the cats because he only gets up like 3 times during this whole stream, twice to blow his nose and once to get his own food. He does not get up to get the cats food. He even says, like, at one point, I cut this out, but he says that he gave the cats dry food because they have no wet food. He can't find the wet food. Then he found a little bit of wet food, and now here.
I've been fed. My school of trans kid was bullied out in less than a month. Yeah. Fuck off means fuck off.
So somebody says the trans kids in my school get bullied relentlessly, and he's like, yeah, because he doesn't care because it's not related to him. But now the next person, I accidentally left this cut in, my bad. But the next person just like tells him that he's fucking wrong and throws a bunch of actual statistics at him.
Christ. No, I never really witnessed bullying in my school either. Like,
you're a liar, motherfucker. Chantal has told some fucking stories about you.
My school was weirdly wholesome. Like,
that is incorrect.
And like thinking back, it was weird how wholesome my school was. Like, we did have a...
See, look at, you saw the shifty eye. I know y'all did. I'm not rewinding it.
Mentally challenged girl in our class.
Okay, here. Earlier he said he wasn't in special education, but he's saying that he has a mentally challenged girl in his class. Now, I'm not really familiar with Canada's education system, but here in the United States, they do not have mainstream classes with disabled people in them. Like, when I was in school in the 80s and 90s, we had remedial class and we had special education. In Catholic school, they put us, like, it didn't matter what level of disabled you were still in the same self-contained class with like 10 other kids. And one kid could be a desk thrower with emotional issues, and another kid could be a nonverbal autistic, and then another kid could have cerebral palsy and a perfectly functional sharp brain. And then me, I'm just fucking dyslexic and angry all the fucking time. So, like, that's the way they handled it in New Jersey, in Catholic school. And everybody else that had like a normal functional brain, they were just in the mainstream classes. In public school and high school, we also had self-contained or special education classes with mixed disabilities and a remedial learning level. Like, probably when I was in 9th grade, we were probably learning the same stuff that everybody else in 7th grade social studies was learning. But we had a much smaller classroom and we spent a lot more time like actually learning stuff. Anyway, on with the fucking lie fest right here about his educational years.
And like all the other kids through birthday parties for her and shit like that. How much bullying in my school I hate about.
If what I was getting at anyway, if she was in his class, then he was in remedial classes.
Yeah, it's like there was no bullying in my class.
You're a fucking liar, man. Chantal told some stories.
It was a really nice class. It was nice. My school is just really bad for bullying gay people. In fact, yeah, tell us how that.
Meh. I mean, it doesn't relate to me. Meh.
If I was, I didn't notice it. Like, I think Chantal sort of overreacted to one or two instances.
Chantal tells some fucking tales. And you can tell when she's lying too, but she was not lying. She was not lying when she talked about how Peetz was treated during his high school years.
So no, I wasn't bullied.
You're a liar.
Would I prefer to date a trans person? I mean,
Nobody's gonna date you, Peetz. You're gross. Get a fucking shower.
either way.
Clean your goddamn room. Be a presentable, productive, contributing human being, and then you can think about who you're gonna date.
Realistically, that's probably who I'll end up dating. Like,
No, realistically, you'll end up dating your fucking hand.
realistically, trans people end up dating other trans people because gender and sexual activity are different, Gully.
Yes, gender and sexual activity are different, but he is right here equating his transgenderness to sexuality 100% this entire time. That is why he has done absolutely no research toward actually transitioning. It is a sexual fantasy for him.
As far as transitioning goes, they're not consenting to transition. They're asking for transition. They are actively seeking to be who they are supposed to be. Trans girls.
Yeah, but you're seeking, see these words he's saying, you're seeking who you're supposed to be. You don't always have to cut yourself to pieces to be who you're supposed to be. Maybe you're born who you're supposed to be, and you're just supposed to figure out how to fucking work with it and make it, make it work for you.
Fuck each other a whole lot, according to all my trans femme friends. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Is
Sex.
that trans people tend to end up dating other trans people. My beard does not give me dysphoria, at least.
You know what? See, like in the United States, again, you have to have some level of dysphoria to be classified as trans, or actually you have to have some level of dysphoria to receive hormones, and you have to have extensive evaluation beforehand. And the fact that this giant, puffy, unkept monstrosity of a beard doesn't bother him, I question that.
For now, what bathroom will I use in public? I mean, in all honesty, like, I will probably spend a lot more time thinking about which bathroom to use at different times than other people would actually spend on, like, thinking about which one I'm in.
He means fantasizing about which bathroom he's going to use.
Transitioning is a big decision. And they do speak to adults. They actually totally do speak to adults ahead of time. Most of them will spend quite a lot of time in therapy. And even before therapy, they'll probably have spent a lot of time thinking about it.
How long is a lot of time to like a 13-year-old kid, though, Peetz? Because when I was 13, I was a raving fucking lunatic that changed her mind every fucking minute. I used to joke that I was part of the religion of the month club, because one month I thought I wanted to be Jewish, the next month I was looking into Muslim, the next month I was looking into like some weird paganism. People change their minds. 13-year-olds are fickle motherfuckers, you freak.
They've probably spent years just...
Years? What kind of years does a child spend thinking about what gender they want to be? Children have so much to think about in their little tiny lives. They have so much to learn, so much to experience. They're not spending all kinds of fucking time obsessing over being a different gender. They got all kinds of things to obsess about. He is a fucking idiot, and I hate that he keeps trying to say that he can see in the hearts and minds of all living beings.
Thinking about what it'll mean for them. The idea that it's being taken lightly is ridiculous. They absolutely think very seriously about it. None of them are making snap decisions.
It's not the children that are making the snap decisions, it's the children's parents that are making the snap decisions. If your kid is like just displaying behavior that is more traditional for the opposite gender, just let them fucking explore it naturally. They may grow out of it, they may turn it into something else. You don't have to give the fucking kid hormone blockers or puberty blockers and counter hormones because it has an inkling to go she has an inkling to go climb a tree and play with worms.
None of them are just deciding, you know what, I'm going to be the other gender. I'm just going to go get hormones.
Actually, in California, you basically can do that. I've read some articles where doctors will prescribe hormones after just one visit in California. That's a weird alien fucking place Peetz would fit right the fuck in if he ever went outside.
Not that. They're not doing that. Like, they're not just, like, making random decisions.
Yeah, they are, you fucking moron.
And, like, it's not we're not talking about a 10-year-old deciding, you know what, I'm gonna be a girl, and just going out and having the surgeries right the next day.
No, you're talking about ruining their body with hormones, you fucking idiot. If a child starts counter hormones or puberty blockers, then it ruins their fucking reproductive system in the future. You idiot.
That's not fucking happening. They'll spend years thinking about it. They'll go to therapy. The hormone
children don't spend years thinking about their gender. They're fucking children. They don't have years. It takes decades to have a life. You know,
blockers that they get put on, again, that is, they will spend years thinking about.
Again, he is talking about young people in single-digit ages that are not capable of, like, deciding what they want for breakfast, making choices to be on hormones and puberty blockers.
Spend years more thinking about it before they actually start on actual hormones. And longer thinking.
That is untrue. He does not read the news in the United States.
Before they go on, before they start any surgical procedures, they think about it a lot. They will have spent most of their lives thinking about this shit. So, like,
not really. I mean, most people, they think about it, but they have lives and they do other things.
Dysphoria is not from childhood. Dysphoria is more complicated than that.
Dysphoria is a social thing. Most of the time, it is because you see the activities of the other gender and you have a longing in your heart for it. And that is most of the basis of dysphoria.
Beyond that, it's something where I don't necessarily feel dysphoric. Meg, it's not.
See, he's not transgender. No doctor would treat him. No doctor would give him hormones because he has no symptoms. He has no dysphoria. He's not really transgender. I don't know why he called himself that. He is not a transgender person. Perhaps he has fantasies and fetishes that he was a little girl with no bald spot. But he is not a transgender person. I'm hoping beyond hope, in all honesty, that he's just like kind of good at trolling people and we've all been had. But I really, you know, I know that's not true. I know that he's just this out of touch with reality.
TERF is a term that they invented for themselves. That is their word. Trans exclusionary radical feminist. That's
in all actuality, they want you to say the entire name all the way out. They don't want you to use the acronym because they want you to know who the fuck they are.
It's the word that they use to describe themselves. Bye, NASA James. I mean, realistically, I probably am less sure than a 10-year-old would be.
See, he's less sure if he's trans than a 10-year-old would be. He's not, and he burdened his elderly mother with that.
But I haven't been thinking about it for 25 years, but I've been thinking about it for a few years. Gender.
Then why haven't you done any research, you fucking jackass?
Euphoria. I haven't really experienced that yet.
I have.
No, they're not Liberty. Chibi Chibi, it's more complicated than that. I don't buy transracial.
He doesn't buy transracial. He doesn't buy trans species. He doesn't believe that a person can switch religions because religions are cultural. I'm holding a grudge. He swiped at me for using the phrase spirit animal. Anyway, he doesn't believe in any other kind of trans except for transgender, even though that too is just surgical procedures and cosmetic application to make you appear to be the other gender.
I don't buy into the transracial bullshit. Lots of slur words that groups then try to own. Yeah, absolutely. But
and I think transracial is kind of cool because that just means that you love that culture so much that you're willing to modify your body to be part of it.
Like I said,
and it's probably a lot less painful and a lot less invasive than changing your gender.
TERF was a term that they created themselves. Trans-exclusionary radical feminist was coined by the trans-exclusionary radical feminists.
Yeah, not TERF. They coined the entire name, not TERF.
They're the ones who coined the term.
They want you to say their whole name all the way through every time you talk about them because they want you to know exactly who they are and what the fuck they are about.
It was only when other people started referring to them as TERFs that they said, no, that's a slur.
It is a fucking slur. They have, I already just said, it is a slur. They told you. They want you to say their whole name all the way the fuck out.
You can't call us that, even though it's a term we coined to describe ourselves, even though we're the ones who came up.
And they don't get all bent out of shape like that. They don't get all bent out of shape like this fucking moron here. He's... whatever.
With it. Is it transphobic if I want to date a transphobic? My answer to that would be that, yes, it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
It's not transphobic if you don't want to date a trans person. You either suck dick or you don't. And if you don't suck dick, you don't want your partner to have one. You don't want to be anywhere near one. Period.
Like, it's to write off an entire group of people is, it is prejudiced. But it's all...
It is and it isn't. It depends on your reasoning. Sometimes it's because you cannot immerse yourself in that culture, or maybe it's for religious reasons. It doesn't always have to be prejudice.
Also, something that I would say is generally understandable. So it's not...
Peetz, would you date a Muslim?
Not something you're likely to get a lot of judgment for. So yeah, that would be my take on it, is that yes, refusing to date, just outright refusing to date trans people is transphobic, but that alone, you're probably not going to get judged for. No, absolutely, you shouldn't feel pressured to date anyone.
He's right. You shouldn't feel pressured to date anybody. And that goes for like the fat acceptance people too, that make the cringy ass TikToks about how it's fat phobic to not want to hook up with them. If you don't share the same interests as somebody, you don't want to hook up with them. It doesn't matter, you know, how big or small they are. If they can't keep up with you, they can't fucking keep up with you. It ain't gonna fucking work out.
No one should feel pressured to date someone, which is why I would say that it's the kind of thing you're probably not going to get judged for too harshly.
This is an incel talking about dating here. This is a person that has only dated one other human being in his life, and it's Chantal Marie. So, yeah, him giving dating advice or talking about what is prejudiced or phobic to not date is pretty fucking laughable. Forgive me for not fucking laughing.
Depending on your reasoning, and how proud you are. And also depending on how proud you are of refusing to date trans people. If you're like, oh, I would never date a trans person.
The only people that talk like that are good old boys talking to other good old boys by themselves, alone in the garage with a couple of beers. You know, he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that's transphobic. On the other hand, if it's one of those things where you support trans people, trans men are men.
They're not men.
I just don't know if I would be able to date one. It's fair. They're racist if you're not attracted to everyone. I mean, kinda. It kinda is racist if you're saying that no, I wouldn't date a Latino. I wouldn't.
You know what? Working at the flea market, I have a lot of different customers from a lot of different cultures and a lot of different backgrounds. And people of South American descent, Mexicans, Peruvians, Brazilians, Argentinians, they really fucking hate it when you call them Latino, Latina, Latinx. They really fucking hate that, because to say Latino means that you're Spanish, and Spanish are the people that conquered them and ruined their cultures.
Date a Latin person. That's kind of racist. If you're just saying no, that is
using the word Latin is racist.
That is a race that I would not date. That is racist. If you don't find them, I mean, it's the difference between.
Again, Peetz, would you date a Muslim person? Would you date a Hindu?
I don't find this person attractive, and I would not date anybody belonging to this entire group of people. You can't help who you're attracted to, but if you are just completely ruling out dating any Latin person,
Why is it Latin? Maybe he doesn't like Spanish people.
Is racist. I would never date a Jewish person. That's anti-Semitic.
No, it's not. It's not. Especially if you're Catholic or devoutly Christian. You don't tend to deviate from your religion. It's not racist. It's not anti-Semitic to not date a Jewish person. Jewish people don't tend to date outside of their religion either. So eat shit, you fuckwad.
If you're saying I would never date a Jewish person, then you are being anti-Semitic in that.
No, you're not. You're fucking being realistic if you're a religious person.
No one's saying that you're obligated to date a Jewish person, but if you're saying, as a rule, that you would never date a Jewish person, you're being anti-Semitic.
No, you're not.
Because you're saying that you will never find.
To be anti-Semitic is to wish harm on a Jewish person. It's not, oh, I don't want to date that person. That's not anti-Semitic. That's preferences to maintain your own religious ideas.
The Jewish people attractive. That regardless of how.
And what the fuck do you think that Jewish is a race? Because you're fucking wrong about that.
regardless of how they look, regardless of how you get along with them, what their personality is, this, that, the other.
It's really fucking stereotypical to assume that Jewish people are a race.
You're saying I would never date that person, that group of people. It's racist. It is. People have preferences. Yeah, sure. But there's a difference between having preferences and ruling out anybody who belongs to a specific race or religion or who's trans or...
No, you're wrong, Peetz. You're fucking wrong. Part of having preferences is I would prefer somebody that is my own faith. I would prefer somebody that has a functional set of genitalia that matches my idea of a good fucking time. I would prefer somebody that is able to maintain the same activity level as me. These things do not make me racist or phobic. These are my preferences for a partner.
Or anything. Kiki.
And I would also prefer a partner that bathes regularly, maintains their appearance regularly, cleans up after themselves, and is able to work and support himself.
So the reason I would argue that refusing to date a trans person of the gender that you are attracted to, in your case, man, the reason I would say that refusing to date a trans man is transphobic is because by doing so, you're saying that trans men are not men.
They are not men. They do not have proper functioning equipment. Even after surgery, they do not have proper functioning equipment. Some women cannot, do not, will not use artificial implements on their body. And that is a preference, Peetz. That's not a phobia and it's not a hang-up. It's a preference to not want to use artificial means to reach climax. You're a fucking idiot.
That's the reason that I would argue that it's transphobic. You know, if somebody's interested in women and they say they would not date a trans woman, then what they're saying is that trans women are not women.
They're not women. They're not women, especially if they have an incomplete bottom surgery. They're not women. Some people like sucking dick, some people don't.
It's saying trans men are not men. And again, that I would say is transphobic. It's
not transphobic. It is a fucking preference. It is a sexual preference.
I would argue that it is a low level of transphobia, depending on how proud you are of refusing to date people belonging to that group.
I refuse to use artificial doohickeys on my body, and I'm fucking proud of that. That does not make me transphobic. That makes me, I don't know, just fucking a purist, I guess.
Pissed off at me for expressing my opinion after I was asked my opinion on something. Fuck off.
Your opinion is fucking pointless. You never leave the house, you don't date, you don't have any friends, you don't have a job, you can't support yourself, you don't do any constructive anything. And, like, the only creative thing you've ever done in your life is really fucking gross knockoff X-Men pornographic fiction. So, whatever, man.
She asked my opinion on this.
And your opinion was trash.
And I am, like, Kiki asked my opinion on this. I'm giving my opinion and explaining why I feel the way that I do. And
he feels the way that he does because he bases his entire opinion off of what a very limited group of very extremely warped individuals believe.
And I should note that I'm doing it in a way that is that I'm not saying that Kiki's a bad person.
Yeah, you are, you fucking creep.
You know, they're not the only person who wouldn't be able to date a trans person. It's that, and like I said earlier, that generally, you're probably not going to be judged for not being willing to date a trans person. Nori, what if they want biological kids? I mean, that's fair. Like, if they want biological kids, then yes, a trans woman is probably not going to be a good match for them. Neither is an infertile cis woman. Yeah.
See, he has to be mean to the cis women, and he's also speaking from a male perspective. He's not speaking from a female perspective here. So again, this is more evidence that this man is not trans.
No, you got to find what's right for you. So nobody's going to get pissy about a man looking for a woman he can have biological kids with. Yeah, he wants.
Or a woman that wants biological kids with a man.
That's what he wants. That's totally fair. That comes down to that's a life goals thing. You know, couples should ideally have some level of agreement in their life goals, right?
Yeah, just some level.
Couples should want more or
says the incel.
less the same things out of life. Every couple is going to have the question of, do we want kids? Every couple is going to have that discussion. So is it ableist if you would never date a disabled person? Yeah. Yes, it is. And again, it doesn't
depends on the disability.
It doesn't make you a bad person if you don't date a disabled person. Some people just can't.
I would hook up with an amputee. I mean, like, I'm married and all, but like, you know, so what? You're missing a part.
Can't do it. Like, some people, like, there are some things people just can't get over. There's always going to be things where, like, nobody is perfect. No human is a perfect person. We all have shit that we all have our own hang-ups. So your hang-ups don't make you a bad person. How you deal with them can.
Yeah, see, how you deal with your hang-ups is what makes you a bad person. And this 37-year-old single incel with no prospects and no future is trying to tell us here that very, very, very small children are capable of making their own decisions to mutilate their little bodies and destroy normalcy in their lives. So there's that.
Makes you a bad person is how you handle your hang-ups. Like, I'll be honest, like, I don't think that I would be able to date somebody with a disability. Like, there's a lot of disability.
And you wouldn't be able to date a single parent, and you probably wouldn't date a Muslim, so let's go.
That I don't think I'd be able to handle. I know myself, there's a lot of disabilities that I just would not be able to handle. I'm not proud of that. It is a reflection of ableist thinking on my part.
Look at him chastising himself and trying to remain virtuous. It's kind of funny. Like, he just sat here for this entire time and spouted off again about, like, little kids mutilating their bodies and it being perfectly okay for them to warp their minds instead of, like, figure out why they feel the way that they do and try and correct it or work with it or, you know, whatever. Anyway.
Yes, it is ableist. That's just what I was saying. So, yeah, I definitely do have ableist hang-ups. I'm not proud of them. As a disabled person, I wouldn't want to date someone who only cares about their own needs. I can look after myself. That's fair. Laura?
What she was probably really wanting to say is, as a disabled person, I wouldn't want to date you.
But, Kiki, I mean, gay men are not attracted to women. I mean, gay is gay. Like, that's not sexist. Gay men...
Well, sometimes I have met some sexist fucking gay men that, like, they'll call women fish and all kinds of nasty, derogatory shit, and they will not associate with the feminine gender at all. But they are flaming people.
men refusing to date trans men, it's transphobic, but
It is not transphobic, Peetz, because some people like to suck dick and some people don't. Gay men would be very, very disappointed in a trans man.
if it's just a hang-up that they can't get over, it happens. Anyway, I'm actually going to end the live here because I got.
Hey, folks. So he cut it off rather abruptly at the end with an announcement that he had to go use the bathroom. But he was slightly more vulgar, of course, because it's Peetz. Anyway, that man really kind of terrifies me. I'm really, really, really glad that he does not go outside. I'm really glad that he does not have access to children or any influence on people that have children of their own. He really needs to seek professional therapy for his transgender issues and also his emotional issues. He clearly lied about being in special education or remedial classes because it is all over his face that he has cognitive disabilities. And I really think that he should just get off of YouTube altogether, because one day he's going to say something that's going to piss the wrong person off, and they're going to find a way to make it stop permanently. Anyway, that's all I really have to say. I hope that you guys appreciated the reaction. I really did not enjoy making it, but there probably will be more in the future. Though I do have much better things that I would like to talk about, and much better things to do with my time than to look at Peetz or edit his stupid fucking videos. Have a great night, guys. Love yourselves, take care of yourselves, and be comfortable in your own skin, because it's the only one you got. Bye.